Weatherbell Analytics, meteorologist Joe Bastardi, your Saturday summary. Here's our November through March forecast. And you may say, well, why is that such a big deal? You only get a one below normal over here. But let's take a look what the modeling has been saying for December through February. So we're exactly opposite of what the modeling's saying. But we see that happen quite often. For instance, well, first, here's our snowfall. We've got it centered below normal. Excuse me. Boy, Freudian slip. Above, a lot above normal in these areas. It's already starting to snow in there, as you've already seen, and there may actually be some snow all the way down to the blue line here. It's very unusual to see it snow in November. It does sometimes, all the way down to D.C. and Philly, but certainly not a common occurrence, maybe one out of every 4 or 5 years. Now, let's look at this. What we like to do is, what I like to do is I like to look at common weather patterns where I see the models busting and then project what happens after that. This was a CFSV2 for November 3 weeks ago. This is what it looks like now. Now it shares in common with some other years. For instance, 2018, and this is what it looked like on October 21st, and then boom, this is what it wound up looking like 10 days into the month. That's what they do. That last, when you go on their site, that's 10 days into the month. So it's like getting a, if you're in a 100-yard dash, getting a, 25-yard lead to start. I mean, come on, right? A forecast has to be before the time period. But it's valuable in that we can see what the trends are. So here was 2014, and this is what the blend of those 2 years wound up with. 2018 and 14 wound up very cold, yet neither one of them was forecasted cold in November. So we've got that common, and I've been talking about this for quite some time. The magnitude of the bust on the climate models. I was looking at some tweets the other day. People were like, I don't know why people think the climate models are so bad. Look, if it can't catch any cold air at all, it's going to naturally feed back and see nothing but warm air the further out you get, and that's what we see going on here. All right, so let's continue to go along this thread here. December 2018-14, big bounce back in temperatures, right? See that? And then started turning colder in January. February, very cold. Still kind of cold in March over here. So the winter of those 2 years look like this. Now, they're not our only analogs, okay? They're not our only analogs. Let's look at precipitation analogs, for instance. This is October 13, 14, and 18. Notice all the heavy precip in here, right, for October. This is this year. Yeah, similar, a little bit further east, but right in there, quite close. So those years turned out to be very, very cold, okay, those winters, when you total it all up. So I'll tell you where I got this. I got this from some Amish people. Who were looking at Dutch draft horses in October. This was back in the winter of 2001, 2002. We had a very warm, dry October here at State College. And, I was talking to a guy, I said, hey, what do you think? The winter's going to be cold. He goes, well, how do you know? I said, well, I'm Joe Bastardi. Of course I know what's going on. He didn't know who I was, obviously. If he's Amish, you don't have TV or radio. And even if he did have TV and radio, most people don't know who I am and don't care, and I understand that. But anyway, he said, well, we're not going to have much of a winter this year. I said, wow, oh, really? He goes, yeah, my horses have no hair, right? So what happened was the horses didn't have hair because they were working outside in October. It was very warm. And he made the connection through his experience as a farmer that when you have warm, dry Octobers like that, the winter's usually warm. Common sense, right? So in any case, there's other things that we look at here. I want to go to the... Now, you know what's funny about that? There'll be people in my business, and maybe you say, that's ridiculous. How, that's not science. Yes, it is. And I'll tell you why. Because there's nothing like experience. And there's nothing like a guy that is working out in the field that has to make a living off what is going on, right? So they pick up on these things. The other thing I heard about is the amount of fat on deer. there's a farmer down in Bellevue, Pennsylvania, and sometimes some of the guys on the wrestling team go down there and eat with him. They have these home-style dinners, right? And he looks at the amount of fat on the deer. So I don't know. That's why I ask my deer hunting friends, hey, what do the deer look like this year? I'll tell you what most of the deer look like that I see. They're dead and on the side of the road. All right, so here I want to show you what's going on here. This positive Indian Ocean dipole has only occurred 3 times without an El Nino going. And those were the winners of 61, 62, 82, 83, and let's see, 12, 13. This configuration, warm in the central Pacific, cooler to the east, very much like 2002, 2003. And then, of course, we've got the warm pool up here, which is 13, 14, 14, 15, and 18, 19. And this, to me, says there's going to be severe amounts of cold continuing to come into the United States during the winter. And the question is, where is it going to be? This configuration tries to make it further east, right? Warm central Pacific, cooler to the east, right? Usually tries to direct it down the plains and into the east. However, and all these years, by the way, have warm water off the East Coast. That's why it snows so much. A lot of cold air around. There'll be storms where it rains, or like you're seeing with the storm yesterday and the storm a couple of days ago and the storm this week. They correct west in the early part of the season, but then they get to the time of the year where they don't correct west anymore. Or they correct west when they look like they're going way the heck offshore, and then guess what happens, right? So it snows a lot. Anyway, if you take those years that I have and you weighted them, in other words, what I did was I went back through all those years and said, well, which one looks closest? And certain ones got high weights, certain ones got low weights. That's the winter forecast it gives right there. And let's see. I don't know why I have that up there. That's October precipitation. I was supposed to have it up there. Okay, so that was a mistake. So there's what we've got forecasted, and a little bit of insight into what goes on behind the scenes to some extent. Okay, so that's it for now. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.